And the dogs, of course, the dogs are going to start barking. Hello, everybody. We're going to do a Department of Disability Commission meeting, and it is going to be at 2 o'clock, so we have a few minutes ahead of time. Little Miss Audit is on the phone, and she's going to go live also, so y'all can hit her up in a minute. And this is the commission that we had an excellent meeting with last month, and hoping we will have another one this month. I have posted the Zoom link in the description, but I will also post it as the first name as we get people included. This one, I'll wait for people to get in before I describe it. Okay, I'll talk to you in a little bit. All right, bye. Hey, Kathy. Lots of exciting things happening today. Oh my gosh. Lots of information. Today's been a packed Thursday. Oh my goodness. Crazy, crazy. I thought it was just going to be our morning sunshines this morning and just this meeting, and it has been just one thing after another and all good things. And I'm noticing I'm not even on the screen, which I don't really care, but why am I not on the screen? Hi, Aussie, oi, oi, oi. How are you doing? Here I am, up in the corner. Here, I'll put you over here. Hi, Irish Mart. Hey, Henry. Was it this morning? I got hooked up doing business this morning. Did anybody else call in? And hola, Henry. Yeah, and I promise I wasn't being mean to you yesterday. It was just, I know everybody was trying to get called in, and it's like, uh-oh, if Henry's gonna have 3 or 4 alter egos, it might take up somebody's spot. So thank you. Thank you for being that way. Ooh, audit is live. We, window capture, properties. This is the Commission on Disability. I know, I'm sorry, Henry. Hey, that was incredible news on Solomon's case today. And good job there, Mr. Henry. Good job. You are making a difference, sir. So the Los Angeles Commission on Disability, their purview is Americans with Disability Act and Civil Rights Act for the city, either the city offices. I'm sorry, Kathy. It was a good morning. We had a really lovely tribute to Cece this morning. And she got on and she was talking with us a little bit too. So I'm glad she was had a little bit of energy in her this morning to call or to log in from the hospital. So the Commission on Disabilities purview is Americans with Disabilities Act and Civil Rights Act for city offices, city programs, city, everything from the easements for the planters, for mental health. And remember, disabilities does not just include physical disabilities. It is physical, mental, cognitive, which include vision and hearing. Hi, buddy. Hi, Antics. And the Olympics are actually on the meeting agenda today to discuss things, and the president of the commission talked with audit. The director in his report will be talking about the planters and the ADA issues of the road there at the Blue. So they took us to heart the last meeting, and they will be, it's not on the agenda, it will be in the director's review. So the director will be reporting on it and what they're doing. Win, folks. That is a win. I sent Nora a copy of the meeting agenda. I should have sent it to I should have sent it to Serge too. Oops, sorry, my bad. To see if he would call in, and asked her if she would talk about mental health issues and disabilities. Hi, Peter. Yep, that's a yippee. That is a yippee-ki-yay. They listen to us. Why can't Scientology open up some of their buildings they don't pay taxes? Not too sure. What do you mean? What do you mean, Aussie, Aussie, Aussie? Oi, oi, oi. Oh, he's live. Okay, so we probably won't get him. Anyways, I'll justify my oopsie. Thanks. But yeah, this is a great meeting to call in. It's a Zoom meeting. It's in the same the same conference area as the Public Works. Little bit different. Oh, for the homeless. Morally, I'm not too sure why they don't, but legally they don't have to. Now, I did find out back in the 80s, they did have a program. I just found this yesterday. I was speaking to somebody that used to be in Scientology, and they lived there at the Blue, and she was a teenager, and they would bring in the homeless to and say, we'll trade you, we'll horse trade. You can come in and have a bed and you work for us. So they horse traded to the homeless for labor. And these homeless people were mostly scum that came in and took advantage of the youth and the children and the people there at Blue. Thanks for saying hi again, Kathy. And I didn't know that happened. That was new news to me. And then apparently something happened. There was a few rapes and a few issues. They stopped doing that. But I didn't know that. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? I'm gonna log in to see if I can get logged in. Yeah, very interesting, isn't it? Okay, that didn't work. Um, Maybe they don't have it set up yet. Let me try just Zoom. Okay, that worked. Um, well, apparently, um, you guys, we'll give it a minute to see if we can. If not, we're going to have to use Audit's workaround.
Kirby's mom. Some things I can't talk about yet, like, but just one thing I did, there's a thing with the public works for the cat.
Okay, and so we've got audits. It's so good now we have internet, we can go back and find some very interesting things that they thought that no one would really hear or see. Yep. So about your spelling, you have a new puppy playing at your feet. Aw, aw, very cool. We like new puppies.
Going to be discussing the concerns we brought, I believe. So I definitely want that one. And three is usually our general public comment.
Okay, we're going to leave her muted while we talk. Congratulations on the new pup. I will switch it to if they'll let us in on the other one, I'll switch it when we get there. But for right now, we'll have to use audits. Yeah, I will be very surprised if they don't try and snag her as a commissioner. I bet you they try and recruit her. Audit, I'm talking about. Here, I need to get settled because I'm not going to be able to hold that the whole time. It's weird. Let me move this and that. Open up this. Did I lose you guys? Here I am. And, oops. I'll leave my ringer on. Yesterday I missed a couple of calls because I turned my ringer down. I didn't mean to miss the calls. Oh, you know what? I'm going to put that off just for a second while I go to here and figure out my thing. Let me on. We'll turn those on. Where'd we go? Where are you, Miss Audit? Psh. Crap. Here we go. Ooh, butt view. That's okay. It's not yours. My son does not know when to stop. When rescuing animals, what a large heart. And maybe you'll have to learn to move to a farm. What a big heart, though. Thank you for not throwing it back out on the street. Oh, goodness. So let me go back and see if they opened it up for this. It's asking me to sign in, and I don't want to sign in. That's not going to happen because I don't have a Zoom account. Well, looks like we will have to Use the workaround. So for the visual, we're going to use her visual, but when it comes time for the Zoom meeting to come on, we'll use their sound. Yeah, her chair got scooched yesterday on the way out of the That sounds like fun though, being able to travel for 6 months. Here, we're gonna leave that like that. Maybe even a little bit more. Oh, we're connecting. Yeah, we're gonna have to, we're doing general. Hey, Ganja. You can do, um, you can do a comment on the Olympics because they're gonna have the agenda item of transportation at the Olympics for the Olympics and the Paralympics. That's what the agenda item is. And then the director's report, the director told Audit that they will be talking about um, the planters in the director's report. So at that time you can raise your hand then to talk. This is 2 minutes per item, 5 minutes total. So you could do 2, 2 and 1 or 2 and 2. Ganja. And thank you. You can discuss in general or you can discuss at the director's report. I think they're going to give you, I think they give you comment time for the director's report too. And maybe we can ask, will there be time after the director's report to talk about the anything that he brings up? So not 100% sure, but, and Aussie, thank you, but I'm so technically challenged. I've really learned by trial and error on this thing because all of these meetings, even though they all use YouTube and Zoom and some use WebEx, they're all different. Even the Zoom meetings are all different. So it's trying to figure out how to get them. You, yeah, well, it, it's not that bad. Not really. I mean, LA, it has more service for people with disabilities than a lot of small towns. So it's not too bad. I mean, Audit gets around pretty well. There are some restaurants she can't go in, but for the most part, it's pretty disability friendly. And I've been to other large cities, and it's pretty comparable. But this is a meeting that we had incredible interaction with the last time, and it shows because the director's going to be talking about it. I'm pretty okay with that. But they're not going to start it for another 6 minutes. Hang on, you guys. I need to grab some water or something for the meeting. I'll be right back. Peter, you're in charge. I'm back, you guys. Peter, I said you were in charge. Oh, yeah, for how they don't remove the planters, yes. I had to go get a drink, you guys, just in case. I'm trying to remember what audit wanted me to talk about. How do you raise hand? You're already on here. If you go to the three dots, it'll say raise hand. It doesn't have it in the Zoom meeting. It doesn't have a more section. I'm going to see if I can get in again. I think I had this problem the last time also. It's just been so long since yeah, no, we can't get in on here. We're gonna have to use audits. Audits visual in there. Yep, I found a cookie while I was in there. Okay. Thanks, Ganja Girl, for letting people know. Let me make sure nobody's texting me.
Recording in progress.
Can you hear that? Did you hear that recording in progress?
of February.
Good afternoon to the commissioners, especially those I haven't greeted yet. Hello. Welcome to the Commission on Disability meeting. Today is Thursday, February 20th, and the time is 2:03 p.m. We are in the Board of Public Works Hearing Room 350 at City Hall 200 North Spring Street, Los Angeles, California, 90012, and virtually over Zoom. I am President Akiko Tagawa, and I will be chairing this meeting. I am female of Asian descent, identifying as she, her, hers. I am a Generation Xer of short stature and with short graying hair. Today, I am wearing a colorful dress, blue, green, yellow, white, and I have glasses on. I'm going to go over some housekeeping items before we get started. This meeting is being recorded. Therefore, we ask that when addressing the commission, you speak close to the microphone and only one person at a time. Please state your name each time you speak. The meeting is also being live streamed. Individuals who wish to watch this meeting may do so by visiting disability.lacity.gov. Click on the Commission on Disability meeting agenda link. Find the agenda for today. The meeting link can be found in the agenda. We will be following the agenda order. Agendas are located on the table by the entrance door, along with speaker cards. Individuals who are physically here and wish to address the commission must fill out a speaker's card and specify which item or items you are going to speak on. More instructions on public comments will be provided by our executive assistant. And at this time, I will tag Kayvon to continue with the meeting.
Thank you, President Tagawa. My name is Kayvon Roten. I'm the commission liaison. I'm an African-American woman with a burgundy jacket and black pants. I would like to start with roll call. Akiko Tagawa.
Present.
Mary Grace Barrios.
Present.
Myrna Kabanbam. Here. Commissioner Cable has let us know that she will be late. Alyssa Schlesinger.
Present.
Aaron Hopkins. Here. Commissioner Patante has let us know that he will be absent. And Robert Williams. Okay, and George Acevedo.
Present.
Kayvon, Commissioner Williams has just joined us.
I would like to recognize Commissioner Williams as being here, not absent. Okay. Okay. I would like to start off with item 1. Request for teleconference option pursuant to AB 2449. In accordance with AB 2449, Section 2AI, members may now notify the legislative body of their need to participate remotely for just cause if they haven't already done so, including a general description of the circumstances relating to their need to appear remotely. The provisions of this clause shall not be used by any member of the legislative body more than 2 meetings per calendar year. There were no commission members attending on the Commission on Disability meeting virtually. Okay. Item 2, approval of the regular minutes, meeting minutes. The commission reviewed the minutes of the November 2024 regular meeting and, oops, sorry, I got ahead of myself. Please take a look at the 2024 meeting. You have a table of contents in your folder to find where the minutes are.
I like the tabs. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any actions?
Motion to approve. Second.
Commissioner Kabamban first, Commissioner Barrio second. Any discussions? None? All in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Okay. So moved. Item number 3.
Item 3, public comment on items not on the agenda. For items not on today's agenda, but under the commission's jurisdiction, members of the public who wish to speak on items shall be allowed to speak for up to 2 minutes per item, up to a total of 5 minutes per meeting. This item is for information.
Okay, Vaughn, I would also like to formally record that Commissioner Cable has arrived.
Virtual? Okay. We have virtual and in person comments.
Okay.
You want me to hold the? Yeah, I can do that. Good afternoon, commissioners. And I just want to thank you. This is the first time ever that I've come to a city commission, well, fire kind of too, but where I not only, I felt heard, listened to, you guys make great eye contact. So many times they'll be talking and they don't do that. So I appreciate you. And the fact that you actually took what we were saying seriously and there's next steps. I just want to give you that thank you for that. But I want to continue with the same thing. The planners are still there. I did see that they removed a few of them, like on a far corner, forgot to mention that, but the vast majority of them are still there. And it's all still on both sides of Fountain and all up and down L. Ron Hubbard Way. And then all the roses that are on the easement of Catalina. And although, yes, you can get through the sidewalk, you can't do any ingress or egress from any kind of paratransit vehicle or even a car because you can't open up the door to get in and out. We've seen their own people, their own parishioners struggling. Even they have several blind parishioners, and they're struggling because they use the cane, and they're having a hard time properly using the cane because it's so tight right in front of the doors of the buildings they need to go to. And they have several people on walkers as well. And it's just I don't understand why they're doing this. And I mean, I understand they don't want protest. They don't want anyone protesting or being able to encamp or do anything or to be there and eyes, but they are breaking the law to do this. There's legal ways to, if they want planters, because it's not really about planters. If they want planters, they can go get planters through the system, but it's got to be ADA compliant. They can't break the laws. And I also want to say that they are trying to get a street vacation, but I'm also going to be talking about it's a direct line to Kaiser Hospital. And as we know, plenty of people, like whether you are permanently disabled or disabled in the moment, need the quick access to a hospital. And so I will probably be talking about that issue in the future. But for now, thank you for at least hearing us. And I appreciate everything you're doing for us. Thank you.
Yes, Stephen.
Stephen Simon, General Manager, Department on Disability, African-American, bald man wearing glasses and a blue sport jacket. Since the commission asked the department to look into this matter, I do have a brief report during the Executive Director's report on this matter.
Thank you.
All right. We are ready for our next public comment. You may begin when ready.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. And as a description, I am an older woman. I am a paraplegic. I'm a full-time wheelchair user and probably in my jammies today, so I'm not going to describe that. But again, like Audit LA was talking about, I'm very thankful for the fact that you are taking our comments seriously. Again, I would like to let you know that I am a prior DIPTAC director, so I'm very familiar with the ADA and very familiar with the issues pertaining to the Title II discrimination and violations. And so the planners, yes, down on L. Ron Hubbard Way and Fountain Avenue and the rose bushes along Catalina are definitely under Title II discrimination and violations. So the reason why they have in their audit, talked a little bit about it, was to prevent First Amendment protesters and the First Amendment people from being there, from the encampments being there. And the main reason that they do that is so that way you don't see what's happening behind the closed doors. And I know that the violation or abuse, all of that is none of your problem. However, one problem that they do is they don't believe in mental health. They don't believe in psychiatry. In fact, they abhorrently oppose psychiatry. And so no mental health, no psychiatry, no psychiatric drugs. And if you need that or want that, you are completely disconnected from the church, from the society, from the community, and you're kicked out. So that is one of the main problems, and they cause psychiatric and cognitive disorders and abuses. So their doctrine, policy, and practices cause problems that then you're not allowed to go and see a doctor about or see a psychiatrist about. Thank you.
Our next caller, you may speak when ready.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I spoke at the last meeting during public comment, and I really do feel like you heard us, that you guys listened, and I want to say thank you. Those planners are ridiculous. There's like 200 of them. And my friend can't use the paratransit because there's so many of them. There's no spots to get dropped off in that area because of the like 200 planners. And I really appreciate that you're hearing us and you're trying to do something about this. And that's all I got to say. I yield back my time.
Thank you. Do we have any more public comments? Yes. Public commenter, you may speak at any time.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I gotta say, just shout out to this commission. This is the only commission I know in Los Angeles that'll actually listen to the voice of the people. I'm here today because I just want to support the two fine ladies that spoke up earlier. There are, in fact, major blockades of the public right away on their 4810 West Sunset. And in fact, my heart breaks because I've watched that poor woman out of LA actually get stuck on that there sidewalk. And it's all because of Scientology. I mean, literally, because of Scientology, she was stuck on damaged sidewalk. And it was only because those activists helped her get out of that spot that she would even be able to go back home. You don't understand. My heart broke out for her. She literally was stuck there and trapped. Why? Because Scientology blocked the public right away. And in fact, there's even a court case out there. I'll read it out to you. It's 24 CJCM 0383701. An activist was trying to remove those same blockades, and guess what they did? The corrupt city attorney prosecuted him over a bogus vandalism charge because he was trying to clear out the public right away. I ask this commission, will you please do your job? Please. There's people out there suffering because of this cult. They're blocking the public right away.
Caller, you have 30 seconds.
And it's discrimination to people like Audit. It's an absolute shame. I know it's not what this country stands for, and I'm sure you'll do the right thing. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Next caller, you may speak when ready.
My name is Johnson. I'm a 47-year-old white woman with glasses. I have short curly brown hair and wearing a light gray t-shirt. I am an Angelina living with long COVID. This March 15th marks the 3rd International Long COVID Awareness Day, and I'm asking for your help to light City Hall and other key landmarks in the Los Angeles skyline in teal, the symbolic color of this cause, in order to recognize this devastating public health crisis. As members of the Commission on Disability and the Ad Hoc Committee on Disability Culture and Legacy, you have a unique opportunity to advocate for the recognition and rights of long haulers. Lighting City Hall in teal would align with Los Angeles' ongoing commitment to advancing disability rights and set a powerful example of inclusion. Long COVID is a disability under the ADA, and I'm among the estimated up to 1.39 million Angelinos and 20 million Americans affected. It develops in 10 to 30% of COVID cases, not people, cases, which means it impacts everyone, including the fully vaccinated and children. Despite the over 200 documented symptoms that affect all body symptoms, there are currently no effective treatments. The pace of research and the cultural response do not match the emergency of this illness. Long haulers also face quality of life that's comparable to late-stage cancer, AIDS, and Parkinson's disease, but the services for those conditions do not extend to us. 4 million Americans, including myself, are too disabled to work, and
Caller,
many,
you have 30 seconds.
are denied SSDI claims. Lighting City Hall in teal would not only raise awareness, but show that Los Angeles recognizes long COVID as part of the broader disability rights movement. I ask the Commission to use its influence to advocate for this visible symbolic gesture on March 15th. Can I count on your support to make this happen? Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Public speaker, you may talk when you're ready.
Yes, hi, this is George Casares. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, hi, George Casares here, ex-mayor of Clearwater, Florida. And I just want to come out to you, board, and explain the fact of the matter is you have Scientology in your backyard, and they are in fact a domestic terrorist group. And one of the ways in which they continuously violate the law is by blocking the public right of way over at the 4810 West Sunset Boulevard campus, also known colloquially as the Blue Building. And as somebody mentioned before, there is in fact a frivolous criminal case because somebody tried standing up for our First Amendment rights and tried standing up for those that are disabled to clear out that blockade, an unlawful blockade and a damaging blockade. A woman was trapped there for hours. Why? Because Scientology hates the disabled people. Scientology hates human rights. Scientology traffics people, and the FBI raided them and showed as much. Scientology is a criminal racket, and part of the over 50,000 documents that were seized by Scientology, from Scientology by the FBI, included clear plans to overthrow the government, commit various sorts of tax fraud, in which living members today were actually conspirators of. Now I ask you, is that what this board wants to accept? These clear criminal behavior from Scientology on blocking the public right away, as well as countless other real estate rackets. You have the authority to do something about this, and it's in your purview. This is the legacy that you and your kids will see. Will
Caller,
you stand
have
up?
30 seconds.
Will you stand up to a terrorist group? Will you stand up to child traffickers? Will you stand up to a cult that violates children in the most disgusting sexual manners? Absolute depravity is what Scientology is. That's what Scientology is. Do the right thing. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Caller, you may begin speaking.
Yes, I just want to say this is just to want to support all the other people that have spoken so far in against Scientology. It's just crazy. I mean, you guys got to see some of the stuff that they do to these people. They're sending people to slash their tires. There was a child today in trial. A child predator was harassing a child and his mother. And they're affiliated with Scientology, and that's all they do. They just harass people nonstop. They block the public right of way. They send criminals to harass people at their houses. And let's not forget, they do in fact traffic children. part of their auditing is where they literally make children ask grown adults all sorts of disgusting sexual questions and they videotape it. That's called CP. And that's what the FBI found. Lawrence Wallerheim was one of those major cases where they showed and proved in court that Scientology, in fact, does this at a grand scale. And that's what the people like Tom Cruise support actively and knowingly. Their very leader is literally right now being prosecuted for human trafficking, child brides, and this is what Scientology is. And you have lobbyists like Bill Delbeck out there trying to paint those activists as criminals and thugs, when in fact Scientology is nothing but criminals and thugs. They traffic children, they molest children, and that's what Scientology is. This board has the authority and the responsibility to go and protect those most vulnerable, the disabled and children. You know now, there is no free culpability that you have. You are responsible. Do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no more public comment.
Thank you, Kayvon. Moving on to item number 4.
Item 4, presentation from the Los Angeles Metro. Benjamin Alcazar, Office of the Civil Rights, Racial Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Office of Chief of Staff, and Hector Gutierrez, Senior Manager, Office of Strategic Innovation, LA Metro, will discuss accessible transportation for the 2026 World Cup and 2028 2028 Olympic and Paralympic Games, and the plan for the LA Metro Transit Center and how it connects to the LAX automated people mover train system. This item is for discussion. So,
Stop.
Ben, ready?
And before the presentation starts, I wanted to note to the commissioners that the, is it purple? Tab has the slides for the presentation.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Hector Gutierrez here, a senior manager with LA Metro in the Office of Strategic Innovation. I am a light-skinned Latino with glasses and wearing a blue jacket today. And then during the end of the presentation, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Ben Alcazar, who will introduce himself. Next slide. So during today's conversation, we'll talk a little bit about the game's context, talk a little bit about some of the work that LA Metro and some of our partners have been doing to really think about accessibility and the work to come over the next couple of years to really prepare us as the world descends upon Los Angeles. We'll talk a little bit about why it's important to think about accessibility as part of the transportation aspect of the games. We'll discuss a little bit about the progress so far, and then I'll hand it over to my colleague, Ben Alcazar, to talk a little bit about our efforts around accessibility and a little bit of an update on the Metro Transit Center. Next slide. And so just some games context for folks here today in the commission. So as we anticipate the world to descend upon Los Angeles, we expect anywhere from 10 to 15 million tickets to be sold during the Olympic and Paralympic Games. That translates to close to 700 ticketed events that we'll see over 60 days, more than 3 million unique attendees, over 60 days of operations for the Games and Paralympic Games. That's the equivalent of hosting 6 Super Bowls per day as we approach 2028. Next slide. So as we think about the Olympics and the work to come, this work is not solely done by LA Metro. It's done by our Games Mobility Executives, which is comprised of different agencies across LA County working together to really deliver and support Games operation as we get ready. That includes LA28, which is the organizing organization really thinking about bid transportation and commitments, some of the venue operations that we'll see across LA County. And then it also includes our regional partners like SCAG, Caltrans, the LA Department of Transportation, MetroLink, City of Los Angeles, who are really working to think about the various components that will make the Games a reality as we approach 2028. And so as we think about, the role that these agencies play within the system, we're looking at things like our transportation system, and how are we thinking about our, the different routes that will get us to and from the different games? How are we thinking about traffic management as we see, 15 million additional people coming into Los Angeles? How are we thinking about legacy investment that really is supporting the development of regional transportation as the games come and leave Los Angeles? Next slide. And so as we think about transportation and Metro's role, right, the game's transportation objectives are to really provide safe, fast, and reliable transportation for athletes, members of the games family, spectators, workforce, and most importantly, Angelinos. We want to make sure that our system is taking care of those that rely on our system to get to and from medical appointments, to get to different jobs, but also making sure that we have accessible transportation for all that come to the region to enjoy the games, whether you're living already here in Los Angeles or you're a visitor coming from other parts of the country or the world to descend and enjoy the beautifulness of Los Angeles. This game is a transit first game, so there is very limited parking at venues. And so many of those stakeholders that will be attending these games will need to rely on public systems, bus and rail to get to and from the different destinations. We're also working in partnership with partners like Access Services to make sure that we have accessible transportation and thinking about accessibility from the onset of planning efforts that we're supporting. The goal of it is to really maximize legacy benefits for the games so that once the games come and go, that lasting legacy continues to be here for Angelinos to benefit for generations to come. Next slide. And so one of the things that Metro has done to really get ready for that is develop our mobility concept plan for 2028. This really establishes the vision and establishes how Metro will lead mobility services for the games as we approach 2028. It really identifies key projects that are achievable by 2028 to provide that lasting legacy that we want to see to support games mobility, but also leave that legacy for the region as transportation continues to be the backbone to moving folks across the region. As part of this goal, we've also identified the accessibility strategy, which really is a coalition of different partners and stakeholders that we are looking to work with to make sure that as we get ready to think about our transit system, we're also thinking about transit as a whole. How are we thinking about walking, rolling, and all the accessibility needs that are needed to make sure that we make this the most accessible games for the Olympics. Next slide. And so some of the kind of key accomplishments as we prepare for 2028 and the mobility concept plan is, we've been able to secure close to $139 million from our Reconnecting Communities grant. We're also advocating for additional funding to come into the region to really support, funding to really support that legacy projects that we'll see across Los Angeles County, from investing in mobility hubs to investing in bus-only lanes, to really supporting that lasting legacy that we are working towards. What we've done so far is we've prepared scopes, schedules, and budgets, pursuing funding across the board to make sure that we are preparing ourselves with those conceptual engineering documents to fund some of those funded projects, develop revenue generation ideas to make sure that we're able to fund projects that are not yet funded, but are working to really, again, leave that lasting legacy. This has been done in coordination with our games mobility executives, federal, state, and local agencies that are coordinating to seek out that funding. And we're currently in negotiations with LA28, the organizing organization, to develop an MOU that really enhances and defines Metro services during the 2028 games. Next slide. And so as we begin to think about the various work to come, right, this is just an example of the work that Metro is doing in the various subcommittees that it has within its agencies to coordinate work, not only with the city family, but other kind of regional partners across Los Angeles to make this work happen. We're thinking about games governance, operations efforts for bus and rail. How are we thinking about our supplemental bus system that will help enhance transit services for spectators and folks that rely on our system to get to and from the different destinations? We're thinking about things like wayfinding, universal design, ticketing, customer experience, and all a facet of different work to really make sure that we are thinking about all the different components to make these games happen. There are more than 20 subcommittees that are comprised of Metro and Games Mobility executive partners that are really moving this work forward to make sure that we have not only the most accessible games for the Olympics as seen, but to really support robust legacy investments for the region. Next slide. And so really the goal of the accessibility strategy that we've developed so far is to really enable persons with disabilities to be safe, dignified, connected, as independent as possible during the 2028 Games. The goal is to build an inclusive and equitable transportation system for all as the world descends upon Los Angeles. Next slide. And so when we're thinking about accessibility and Metro's role to deliver accessible games, we're looking at the focus, which is the focus of the accessibility strategy, which is how do we get our targeted riders, folks across LA County that rely on our system, that want to get to games, from the transit hub locations that will be across LA County to the security and screening areas before entering games and participating in the largest peacetime gathering of the world. And so really the strategy that we've been able to develop takes into consideration that kind of journey that folks will take to get to the different venues. Next slide. And so as we think about the accessibility work in play, one of the things that we're looking at is how does that intersect with different work streams in development. So an example is the Games at Hand transit system. This is taking additional buses that will come to the region, and how are we making sure that they include accessible buses, right? We're looking at key stations in places like downtown, Pico Station, Union Station. If you've been to some of those stations, they're not the most accessible. So how are we using this opportunity to really make sure that accessibility is at the forefront at some of those investments that we're making now that, again, leave that legacy benefit for Angelenos as we think about that. Wayfinding, digital accessibility needs, and some of the improvements like tactile findings and different technologies and things are things that we're exploring across different mobility hubs that will be seeing investments as we get ready for 2028. And then we're also just thinking about some of those transit to venue first last mile connections, right? Park and ride locations. How are we making sure that we're coordinating with access services to make sure folks can get dropped off at the different venues? And so we're working across our Games Mobility subcommittees to really identify and take inventory of what the accessibility needs are to consider the work to come. Next slide. And so some of the things that we've been able to do and are planning are really implemented targeted inclusive design strategies that support people of all abilities. We're making sure that mobility for Angelenos that are already using our system and those that are visiting are integrated and are connected seamlessly with the broader transportation network that is served by Metro and our other regional providers across the region. And we're also thinking about accessible transit options, including paratransit, low-floor buses, and designating accessible routes to make sure that once folks get to the screening area, we're thinking about accessibility across the board. And so our hope is to really think about improving wayfinding, improving digital access, and using some pilots that we have in the pipeline to really support that endeavor. Next slide. And so what have we done so far as we're thinking about accessibility? One of the things that we've done is we've identified games requirements and guidance. We've established some goals and objectives around how we want to make sure that we have accessibility embedded from the onset across different work streams. We've developed some initial estimates about spectator demand for accessible transit needs that will happen during the games. We've determined what are some of the accessibility needs by our operators and some of the supplemental bus system that we'll see. We're also benchmarking against other major sporting events to identify opportunities for improvement. So we'll talk a little bit about FIFA and some of the work that we're kind of thinking about for piloting some of those efforts. And so future work that we have as we're thinking about accessibility is really, we've developed a report that kind of shares out our progress. We'll be sharing that report out with external stakeholders. We'll also be conducting additional engagement and working across our games mobility executive partners to implement strategies to improve accessibility and piloting some of these efforts during major events, right? 2026, we have FIFA. 2027, we have Super Bowl and other major events that are coming to the region that will help us get ready for the Olympics. Next slide. And so one of the things that we're doing is we are seeking a lot of federal funding, but a lot of the investment that we're already seeing in the region is coming from local, state, and funding resources already available. About $12 billion in local and state funding to fund more than 20 projects to really deliver or be delivered by 2028 to really support regional mobility and leave that lasting legacy. Some of the delivering bid and commitments that we have on the books is the Crenshaw LAX line, the regional connector, the Purple Line sections 1, 2, and 3 connections, and a little bit about the Airport Metro connector that we'll share in subsequent slides. Metro has spent about $10 million to date planning for the 2028 games. That includes developing strategies, looking at spectator demand, and a number of different strategies to really support and get us ready for 2028. Next slide. And so now I'll hand it over to my colleague, Ben Alcazar, to carry us through the rest of the presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hector. Benjamin Alcazar here from Metro Office of Civil Rights. I'm Senior Director in Civil Rights Programs.
I'm sorry, presenter, we're having a hard time hearing, well, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Okay. Okay, let's see, I think everything is turned up.
And I also want to remind the commissioners that if it's not work related to the commission, to please abstain from using your devices.
Okay, hopefully that'll be a little better. So, yes, good afternoon, Benjamin Alcazar, Metro Office of Civil Rights, and Senior Director of Civil Rights Programs. And thank you, Hector, so much for a great presentation. I'd like to kind of address now the status of the Airport Metro Connector, as Metro has called it.
I'm sorry, we're still struggling to clearly hear your presentation.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I've got everything turned up as loud as I could.
Okay.
Let's see.
Give us one moment. They're checking devices on this end.
Okay.
Steve Simon here. I think our sound end is on the max that we have also.
Okay.
So Ben, it might just be speaking to the mic a little more. Sorry, maybe this is slow for us. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. All right, very good. Let's see. I think I've got everything turned up to the maximum. Can you hear me a little bit better now?
Yeah, keep going. Let's see how it plays out. Yeah, speak
Okay,
as loud as you can. Thanks.
Okay, today we just would like to talk about the what we called formerly the Airport Metro Connector. It's now called the LAX Metro Transit Center, and it's located at 96th Street and Aviation Boulevard. And this center is multi-level. There's a ground level where there's Metro Rail and the bus plaza, mezzanine level with some offices and retail, and then the upper level that connects to the automated people mover. The budget for the facility was $898 million. Construction began in 2021, and we're expecting the facility will open summer of 2025. And this is part of the K line that opened a few years earlier that connects Crenshaw line to the Green Line, or the C line as we now call it. And so currently there's free bus shuttles connecting the E line or Expo line to the Crenshaw line, or the C line as we call it now. And those shuttles will continue to run until the Airport Metro Connector is open. Okay, next slide, please. So in this slide, it's showing a graphic of the layout of the area around LAX. And we have the K line cutting through the middle of the page. And on that line, we can see a circle representing the Airport Metro Connector or LAX MTC Transit Center. And then there's a dashed line crossing over it that goes into LAX that represents the automated people mover. And we'll talk a little bit about that in our next slide. So the LAX Metro Transit Center, it has two light rail lines that come into the C line, formerly the Green Line, and the K line, the Crenshaw line. On the bus plaza, there are 16 bus bays for both Metro and municipal carriers. Metro customers, there's a Metro Customer Service Center on the ground floor, retail spaces, and there's also a bike hub. And it is designed to direct connectly to the LAX Automated People Mover, sometimes called the APM. So there's some great, exciting accessibility features with this facility. So we have ADA tactile directional paths that connect all key locations for customers. So from site arrival until your boarding platform and vice versa, a blind customer is able to wayfind through the station quickly and efficiently. There are some large screen information kiosks on the plaza and around the station that have interactive controls, audio control, and have braille and tactile signage as well. And all fare gates in this facility are ADA gates. So there are no turnstiles, they're all paddle gates that are wide enough for the wheelchair accessibility. And then there are many elevators. There's about 10 elevators available to the public in this facility. They are tandem elevators so that if one goes down, there's still access. And there's many escalators as well. The exciting thing about the elevators is that this is the first facility in Metro that has hands-free activation. So for persons who are unable to activate the call button, there is a push plate that can be activated through bumping with a mobility device or the device that will call the elevator. And so we're really excited about this, and we'll be watching this and testing it and seeing if this design is good and taking comment if we can improve it. Our plan is to roll out hands-free access elevators throughout the Metro system over time. So this Airport Metro Connector will be our first try at it, and very interested in customer feedback and how the design might be changed or improved to help people utilize the elevators. Next slide, please.
No.
Okay,
Hold it
so we
up.
talk a lot about universal
you. Hold
design,
it up.
but at Metro, we really want to talk about universal and inclusive design and a human-centered design approach. And so that means that when you're designing something, when you're planning something, that we involve customers, especially customers with disability, to provide feedback and test and provide guidance in that design process. And so we use this human-centered design approach to develop the ADA tactile pathway and also other features of the stations, the intercoms that are also hands-free activation and many other features
Grizzy,
in
go
the
lay down.
station. So these key opportunities that we have now ahead of us is, you know, we can enhance mobility through rail and BRT stations and bus hubs through better accessibility. And we have inclusive digital information and information technologies, including LEP, which is limited English proficiency. So we have the ability to provide information in multiple languages. At our customer service center, if a person calls in, we can get a translator on the line for any number of languages to help connect with that person. And we'll be increasing our LEP accessibility as time goes on towards the Olympics with our signage and providing methods for people to understand information in other languages. We're doing a lot of sensitivity and awareness training, and we're rolling out sensitivity and awareness training to our frontline staff. It's been in place for a while, and it's been very successful. Also for Metro operators and other frontline staff that interact with customers to make sure that they have a good basis of understanding how to interact appropriately and effectively with a person with disability or an LEP person or other individuals. We're doing collaboration with government agencies and industry partners, and we're ensuring that there's a policy alignment between all the agencies, and then very interesting continuous feedback, which drives our improvements. Next slide, please. So there are some accessibility pilots in preparation right now. So the hands-free access to intercoms, we have units now that are hands-free accessible. The units are being redesigned to be even more user-friendly. It will also include a digital screen that as someone is speaking, it prints out in digital characters in large print what what you're saying and then what the person who's answering the call is saying. So it's very helpful in station environments that are noisy or for persons that may have hearing impairments or other impairments. The ADA tactile guidance system is being expanded throughout the system, most recently to the regional connector station. And we're still taking feedback on that as well. So we're doing some customer feedback at this very moment for the next few weeks regarding design of the pathways and how we can improve it. In the future, we'll also be doing some volunteer initiatives. So we want to develop initiatives that have like a dedicated accessibility team. And this will include people with disabilities and multilingual persons as well. And then we're looking at some other ways that we can improve accessibility as well. Next slide, please. So one of the new things we're working on now is an accessible mobile wayfinding application that a customer can use to navigate from arrival at the station through the station and connect to the services that they're attempting to connect with. And this mobile application was developed by blind persons. And so it is blind accessible as well as accessible to other individuals. It has both audio and visual guidance. And the intent of this is to provide complete trip support from a site arrival to connection and vice versa, arriving at the station and connecting back through to a bus stop to leave Light Union Station. We're enhancing our disabilities and sensitivity awareness training. We do hands-on training, things like sighted guide, like how to appropriately approach a blind customer and offer assistance if they want assistance being guided through a facility or boarding a vehicle. We're expanding our interpretation and translation, and you'll be seeing more in multiple languages on Metro. So in web, in print, in signage, and on the ground, person to person, we're attempting to have more people that speak multiple languages available. Another new initiative are calming and recovery rooms, mainly for neurodiverse individuals and other customers. These will be at major Metro rail and BRT stations and large bus hubs. And so an area where someone can go and sort of lower the inputs and sort of do a sensory recovery to continue on their trip. And so we're hoping that those open doors opportunities for people who currently aren't able to make the full trip because of sensory overload. And there's more to come. There's additional efforts supporting accessibility and mobility. Very excited to have the games coming to Los Angeles. It's really provided great incentive for us to look even deeper into how we can provide that great continuous and usability for persons. So not just something code compliant, not just ADA compliant, but something that's truly usable. So we have Metro design criteria that we've developed that exceed the ADA requirements and state of California requirements. And those design criteria are based upon feedback from people with disabilities. Next slide, please. And then here's our contact information. So Hector Gutierrez, Senior Manager, Office of Strategic Innovation, and his email and phone is here. Phone number is 213-444-9304. And so, and I'm Benjamin Alcazar, Senior Director, Office of Civil Rights. And my phone number is 213-598-7680. And thank you so much. It's been a great being with you today. Thank you so much for inviting us out to do this presentation and looking forward to future interaction with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any first comments, questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Cable?
Hi, this is Commissioner Cable. I'm a white woman with short, white, blonde, brown hair, and I'm wearing a green shawl. I use a wheelchair for mobility. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was very insightful. I hope that you can share with the Commission and the Department of Disability your Metro Universal Infrastructure Design Strategy, as well as the Mobility Concept Plan. That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, this is Hector speaking from LA Metro. Yes, we're more than happy to share those documents with you. I'll follow up with Kayvon to send that over.
Thank you, Hector.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I first wanted to thank you for this very promising plan. I did wonder, I know there were some mention of neurodiverse populations, but we had a presentation about a year ago regarding hidden disabilities and lanyards or symbolizing in a quiet way so that people with hidden disabilities have a way to kind of hint at the need for help. I had then a follow up to that had heard that Metro had their own way of managing hidden disabilities, so wondered what that might be.
Mainly, it's through training for people to recognize certain maybe characteristics or aspects, and to never assume that someone doesn't have a disability. So the whole approach is that you can never.
I'm sorry, there might be some sound system issues,
Yeah.
but both of your comments are muffled.
Okay.
I wondered if you could speak a little more closer to the mic or slowly so we could catch
Okay.
your words.
Yeah,
Sorry.
thank you so much. And so with our training that we do, our disabilities awareness and sensitivity training, we cover many different types of disability. The main thing that we train people is to never assume that someone doesn't have a disability based upon their appearance, and always we're ready to assist and offer assistance. Even if the customer doesn't seem to need it, it's always good to offer assistance and be prepared. Some of the things we'll be doing with our volunteers will be forming a force of volunteers with disabilities, and they'll be wearing lanyards that kind of identify their person that can be helpful to a person with disabilities who might need assistance. And so we're working on ways to help for people to identify, that individual is there to help them. And so we saw this in Paris, and it was very much well liked by the Parisians and the attendees at the Olympics.
Well, thank you very much for that explanation. Stephen, you had a comment?
Yes, if I may. Hi, Steve Simon again. Thank you again, gentlemen, for the presentation. A couple of questions. You talked about the hands-free elevators in a particular station at LAX that you were sort of piloting, and there's an intention to take that system-wide. Is that something that there already is a timeline for? Number one. I got about 3 questions.
Yeah, we're discussing the timeline now. So we want to do some piloting, and with the Airport Metro Connector or the LAX MTC, we want to take feedback from customers that are utilizing that feature to see, does it work for them? Do they have recommendations? And so that'll be part of the process, is making sure that we get good live feedback on how that works, and then what could be done to improve it. And so this is our first attempt at hands-free access for elevators. And so very interested in how people use it, and learning from individuals that use this hands-free access, what works best. And so that's what we're really interested in. And once we've collected the information, then our intent is to roll out pilot testing at other facilities as well. So it's very preliminary right now, but the intent is there. We need funding, but I'm sure we can come up with something. So it's going to take a bit of time to get it in place, but I appreciate everyone's patience and interest in this. And I was very interested in what the usability is for the customer.
I keep going. Thank you for that answer. And I will say from the department's perspective that Metro has traditionally really stood out getting public input around accessibility and other issues and inclusion more broadly. So I do appreciate you doing that. This commission has actually wanted to, sort of site visits one way or another, particularly at that connector space. And, when we were talking about it a year ago, it was, mostly a hole in the ground and wasn't something that could be revisited. So we'd love to revisit that conversation, perhaps offline, for some scheduling opportunities this commission can have their input in that space and, check out those elevators and other ingress and egress issues. So we can, the department will gladly reach out to you for that. I think you said the timeline was this summer for the facility open?
Yeah, that's what my best guess is. This summer it'll be open. And so maybe sooner. I don't want to overpromise. It's there's many things that need to be done, and we're somewhat perfectionistic in the way that we approach things. And so we want to make sure it's as close to perfect as it can be before the station opens.
And my last question is, you mentioned the awareness, sort of accessibility and inclusion awareness training curriculum. Is that something? Apologies to everyone, any interpreters. I'm going to start my sentence over from different direction. I know Metro is working actively with both the City of Los Angeles, various departments, and LA28 on sort of bigger picture games issues and planning. So to that end, is your your sort of accessibility and awareness training curriculum something that is being shared with the city and LA28, and or is there collaboration in that space? And whether that answer is yes or no, if there's an opportunity for this commission to participate anyway in that conversation, if that is an ongoing, evolving curriculum, I would think this commission might be interested in doing so.
That's excellent. Yes to all of your questions. And so we've offered to share the trainings, and we're very interested in collaboration. And we're especially interested in feedback and advice and guidance on how we can change and improve. And we, as we learn new things, we do different things. And so in the case of neurodiverse, we've learned that maybe this common room will open doors opportunity for people to use the system who previously could not because there was just too much input, too much stimulus, and they needed a place to kind of, calm down and relax and then continue on their journey. And so there's many opportunities. We kind of see that we've exceeded what's required by ADA and the state of California, but we still have a long ways to go. We're not done yet. And so there's a lot more that we can learn and a lot more that we're looking forward to implementing.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you again, Ben.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Oh, Commissioner Kabamba and then Commissioner Hopkins.
Hi, Commissioner Kabamba speaking. And I don't know if this question to direct either to you, Hector or Benjamin, but it's a great presentation, but all I got is a lot of generalizations and a lot of planning and piloting. Are any of these in concrete, planned, defined already, or piloted? Because I'd hate to see the events to be the actual pilot events. So if you could give us, if there is any to give now, as definitive time plans or actual testing going on already on with the $10 million of planning, do we have anything to see already in concrete? Thank you.
I could speak to that, Ben, and then feel free to jump in. Yeah, in terms of accessibility planning, so the document that we have developed as part of the accessibility strategy has in that document a RACI tool, which identifies roles, responsibilities, and actions that need to be taken by Metro and various departments, LA28, Department of Los Angeles, City Transportation, and other stakeholders that are part of the GME to really actionize and think about accessibility. A lot of the work that is already happening, right? We have a lot of contracts and bids out there to help us get ready for the games, have embedded some of that technical kind of language and expertise that are required to think about implementation. Some of the funding that we've secured through our Reconnecting Communities, $42 million, right? Some of the improvements that are going to be happening to some of those mobility hubs have in them plans, to improve accessibility, whether that's wayfinding or kind of additional enhancements that make accessibility more accessible within those settings are plans that are already there. More than happy to share in a future presentation some of the specifics that of how we're thinking about accessibility across different work streams, if that's of interest, as we continue to engage different stakeholders as part of the accessibility strategy. We see that as a living document to really support and help inform our thinking. But if there are any ideas from this commission as we're thinking about accessibility or things you all would like to see, we're open to that feedback. There are things in place, but as all things, they are moving. And some of the things that Ben talked about during the pilots, some of them are pilots, but some of them.
Sorry.
Huh?
Okay, continue.
Yeah, some of the things that Ben talked about are in the pipeline, but some of those trainings, we're hoping to deploy system wide when we set up a second transit system to support, spectators that might be coming to Los Angeles to enjoy the games. We're using FIFA and other things to test out, accessible routes, different things that we might see during the games themselves to make sure that we're thinking about that human-centered approach when it comes to making sure we make this peacetime gathering the most accessible peacetime gathering in the Olympics history. So, Ben, anything else to add?
No, I think that's a great rundown. And then we'll have more specifics as time goes on. So we have things like our wayfinding mobile application that's in development right now and will be deployed in the next couple months at Union Station. There's a demo version of it running right now, but they have improved how the application works and would really like to get this up and running. And of course, that will be tested by people with disability to let us know how does it work for them. The directional wayfinding for visually impaired persons and other persons, that's always something that we look at to ensure that it meets the needs of everyone. And so we're currently doing some on-the-ground testing with that as well by people with various type of disability and other customers who use the station to provide some feedback and let us know, do we need to modify the design or changes? So everything's sort of live action. And so these are some big initiatives that we're really interested in. And I'm really interested in the common rooms. I'm really interested to see how does that work? Does that open the doors of opportunity to more people? And so these are all things that are part of what we've got planned, but there's a very large pool of items that we'd like to get to. And I think the challenge is to try and I'm the type of person that wants to do everything at once. And so we have to kind of focus and get a few things accomplished and move on to the next. But at the same time, we're always in that human-centered design mode where we're always listening and taking feedback and making modifications as necessary. And so before the Olympics, we hope to have many of these things in place. And so there's some restrictions on funding and whatnot, but I feel really confident that the Olympics has really helped us make this a priority, to make accessibility a priority, and create new opportunities for people who currently may not be able to utilize the system. So, for example, at Union Station, it's quite large. We're piloting a courtesy wheelchair transport there. So for a customer who arrives and is unable to traverse the station because of its size, we will offer them wheelchair transport to get from where they are at Union Station to their boarding platform, or vice versa. And so the size of the station can be an issue, as we know.
I
Code doesn't
see his
specifically
nose
address that, but we
growing.
know practically from a usability standpoint that when we have large, complex stations, they're difficult to navigate, and we're looking for ways to make that better.
Thank you. We have comments from Commissioner Hopkins and then Commissioner Barrios.
Hi, this is Commissioner Hopkins. On slide 13, your bullet for progress suggesting achieved includes developed initial estimates of spectator demand for accessible transit services during the game. And I'd like to know where those estimates stand and if the assumptions for those estimates anticipate at least one wheelchair user and one blind person on every single mode and leg of transit, because if that is not the case, then it must be revised to anticipate the need on every single leg of transit.
Yep, Pinocchio knows.
Yes, thank you for that question. And so one of the things that we're doing is we're using a living model, right, to model different assumptions, right? We're looking at folks that are currently using our system, disability, folks that might have a disability in LA County, and using some of those measures to really support and assess, right, what that potential spectator demand might be for the games and Paralympic Games. The delivery model will continue to evolve as we get additional data from ticket sales and spectators that are coming into the region. We're working and coordinating with access services to determine what demand might look like by looking at different accessible needs and transport that happen at current venues across LA County. And so we're using all those inputs to really help inform our thinking and planning to get us ready to think about accessible. Again, these are estimates, but as we get closer to the games, as we look at ticket sales, the number of accessible seats that are available to and from at the different locations, all those will be inputs that will help inform and develop the strategies that we need to make sure that we have accessible pickup at park and ride locations, accessible shuttles to get to and from folks from when they get dropped off until they get to the security perimeter. So all those things are under consideration as we kind of get ready. So again, initial estimates, but really helping us put into perspective what the demand is. We're also looking at past Olympic Games and working with an international committee for the Olympics, the IOC, to get some historical data and information to help inform planning efforts locally here as we think about accessibility from historical perspective from previous games.
Okay, I have another question. Thank you for that information. Maybe this will help reposition the perspective. I think as a city policy and metro countywide policy, part of this anticipation of need should be preparedness to provide the service. So at a minimum, I would suggest that every single contracted vehicle that is providing services under the Metro brand be prepared to provide accessible transit services for people who are both visually impaired and use wheelchairs. Because we know for a fact that we have buses that come up that aren't ready, that people get turned away all the time. Oh, we can't take you because you're in a wheelchair. And that's the kind of thing we need to estimate around, as in assume that all vehicles need to be able to provide those services. And I love the planning talk, but the time is now. Like the time for planning is gone. We need this ready to go today. We have people who do drop-offs and pickups, and the bus can't take them because they're in a wheelchair. That's outrageous. The city and the county cannot allow that.
Thank you for that feedback, and I'll definitely take it back to our operations team and take it back to the GME subcommittee as we're planning for 2028. But any additional feedback or recommendations that you all have my contact information. Please share that out with us, and more than happy, to get it to the right folks within Metro and within our GME subcommittees and principals to make sure we're elevating these issues.
Oh, I have one more comment. Sorry, this is again Commissioner Hopkins. You also mentioned the historical perspective and anticipating numbers based on number of accessible tickets sold. I do not think that that is at all an indicative barrier, or an indicative factor of what the demand or need will be. And I don't think that historical retrospective is going to be helpful in this instance, because the services and importance given to this subject has been deplorable at best for historical reference. So I think we need to start over and do it right. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. They're well taken.
Commissioner Hopkins, one last comment from Commissioner Barrios.
Commissioner Mary Grace Barrios. I'm a Hispanic, Asian, Filipino, brown hair, wearing a brown coat. Is it possible that we have a comprehensive timeline of all of these things that you have presented to us in terms of from beginning where we are now, where these things that you have presented to us, when is it going to be implemented, pilot, a real comprehensive timeline so that we can really see for ourselves where we are. And that timeline then will also include during the 60 days where the events are happening, what the transportation looks like, and then even after the games. I mean, to plan something like this in a very closed area, you really need a timeline. In terms of resources, as my co-commissioner said, planning is done. Now it's implementation. So where are you in terms of coordinating all of these different parts in this timeline so that we can really see, is it going to happen? I mean, is this hub there? Where is it? When is it going to start? Have you done this? And if you haven't, when can we have it? Because that's the only way we'll see where we lack resources, whether financial, people resources, whatever it is. So has this been done or is it still in the planning stage? That's my question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for those questions and those comments. So question is, yes, some of it, we've done some of the initial planning already and put in place operational plans to get us ready to get to that point. A lot of these things still are in development, right? As we're thinking about, volunteers, right? And an example I can give you is, right, we have an idea of, where some of the buses for our supplemental bus will be at, but we're looking for locations to house those buses, right? As part of the supplemental bus system or enhanced system that we're going to see, we're trying to get an additional 2,000 buses to meet the demands of the games. We're working internally across our Metro team to locate assets, working with partners like LAUSD, LAWA, to identify places where we're going to be able to park those buses, right, during the games. Those are borrowed buses that we're working with other transit agencies to identify that are near zero emissions. And so a lot of this work is still in progress. More than happy to take back and share with our team, the need for additional visibility. There are, regional convenings that we're having with cities and transit partners across the region to get us prepared for that. We're hoping to have a regional summit sometime in the summer to share more widely with external stakeholders and other folks. What are those operational plans to get us ready? Because yes, 3 years will come and go. And so plans are in place, not all of them, but many of them are to get us ready to operationalize and move people as the world descends upon Los Angeles for the Olympics. So,
yeah, and just a follow-up with the fires that have happened, which greatly impacts the region from the west and in San Gabriel Valley, which is Altadena. It's very important, because we talk to communities that we need that, a timeline that's clear so that if we need resources, especially when it comes to volunteers, communication and imperative time is so important. So the faster I know there are many moving parts, but if you can give a clear, how we are as of today, and that's how we should look at it moving forward, would be really appreciated, because especially Paralympics impacts our commission very much. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
And I think we have 4 or 5 public comments waiting. But prior to that, thank you again for presenting. And as you can see, we are all very excited by what you're doing. I appreciate you for coming and being transparent about where you are and what you're doing. It's way more than what Waymo has done. I'm putting it out there because I'm pretty irritated by that situation. So thank you, and we hope you come back and provide us with some updates. As we progress towards FIFA and the wonderful LA 28 games. But with that, I'll pass it over to Kayvon for public comments.
Thank you for the report. I'm very excited to hear what's happening, what's going to hopefully be in our near future with regards to metro and elevators. But it seems like a pipe dream to me as somebody who is on the metro practically every single day, and I'm struggling with. There's always a down elevator. And sometimes there's one like at Hollywood and Highland, which I needed to get off at. I had to stop going there because it was down for months. And then last night, as I was getting off in the station, you go through the things where the little gates open and it opened and shut immediately. And I couldn't even get it and my chair was already like trying to go through. So it hit my joystick console, crushed it, like pushed it upwards, which pushed the button that, the joystick part that makes it move into the chair. So it kept my wheels revving and revving. It was terrifying. And they ended up having to call the fire department. But nobody could get the doors to open. And it actually harmed my chair to the point where I couldn't even get into, I come to City Hall all the time. I can always get through, but I couldn't because it's making my chair zigzag because the joystick is off. So it's like I'm hindered as a disabled person trying to get through the city because my chair was damaged by Metro. And the supervisor came, they're going to put in a claim, and I hope to God they fix it or something happens, my insurance, whatever. But the point is, it's hard to dream big and hope that all that's going to happen when, just my day to day trying to, and I'm still determined. I came here regardless, even though I could barely get on and off the bus because my chair is trying to zigzag. I'm so determined to speak to this commission because they are so on our side with the ADA community. You sense it. But we need, like right here, right now, help with the endless issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Next public comment.
Speaker, you may begin speaking.
Thank you. As I said in my previous comment, I am a person with a disability. I happen to use a wheelchair. I helped the city I was living in at one time getting prepared for our VA games, which is very similar to the Paralympics. And I hope you don't, and I've been to a couple of Paralympic games. I hope you don't mind me passing on a few lessons learned. One, the Olympics and the Paralympics, since they're so close together, a lot of Paralympians will be there, of course, to see the Olympics. And Paralympians are used to going into cities and places and having to be adaptable in their transportation modes. That's just normal. But a lesson learned is making sure that the path of travel is accessible. Maybe using some of the Willits decision money to do that. That might be an asset to you. Making sure the path of travel, and then of course the enjoyability of being a person with a disability or being a chair user, to be able to take off, go to the restaurants, enjoy life, not just going to the venues and being stuck in their hotel or at the venue. So that's part of it. So the path of travel is really important. The second piece to that is there are going to be a lot of people with disabilities coming to watch the Paralympic Games. What a exciting and profound time that's going to be. So you're going to have
30 seconds.
You're going to have double the people. The third item is pre-communication, making sure that there's documentation or advertisements saying you're not going to be able to park at the venues. Make sure and have public transportation or be able to be dropped off. So utilizing taxi or for hire services and making sure there's a lot of accessible restrooms. That's those are the lessons that I learned planning for the VA games.
Thank you. Speaker, you may begin.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm frustrated that it takes the Olympics in order to do a lot of the stuff that you talked about. I get it though, because the Olympics bring money and it takes money to do these things. But why are the elevators always broken? How come my friend gets stranded all the time because of these elevators? How come when she's on low battery on her wheelchair, she has to go to a different station, sometimes uphill, so it takes more battery? And she's already low on battery, hoping that she can make it home. How come, the elevators are causing that to happen? Like, I wish there was more focus on the elevators with this. Like, it's nice that there's the hands-free thing. I do see why that's important to, start to see if that's going to be a good thing, but focus on the elevators themselves. They're broken all the time, and there's not always someone there to fix them right away. Sometimes it takes hours. So, I don't know, fix the elevators. That's it.
Thank you. Next caller, you can begin.
Yes, I have three concerns. Metro has notoriously had issues with elevators. I hope that with the new LAX People Mover, that there's a concurrent audit of response times to non-operating elevators. I know they're probably state-of-the-art elevators, and perhaps you can pass along any learned practices to other to the Metro Vertical Transportation Department so that they can utilize those learned practices in other elevators. I don't know if you're aware of the Sunflower Program. If you are, will you be implementing some of those practices for visitors at LAX? Regarding elevators, is there going to be some type of initial monitoring to see? Elevators are very popular, but some people actually require them to be able to navigate. I hope that there's monitoring to see that those able-bodied pedestrians aren't pushing those into the back of the line, taking their place, perhaps an audio or a human monitor to say, please remember those who are required or need the elevator, please allow them in the front of the line. And lastly, Metro has an AAC, an Accessibility Advisory Committee. Unfortunately, they have not met for some time, and the Metro calendar does not show them having any future meetings. If you have the information, or if you could look into, are they taking a pause? Are they reconfiguring? Please report back to this commission. Please report back to this commission if they need more members, so that, because that AAC is for input by people with disabilities with Metro services. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Caller, you may begin.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thanks. I want to talk about accessibility and clean indoor air on public transit in anticipation for the Olympics and Paralympics. As you can imagine, buses and trains will be full of people from all over, which is a breeding ground for airborne illnesses. BART trains in San Francisco recently upgraded their air filtration to have MERV 14 filters and air replacements every 70 seconds. They're also testing UVC lighting because surface cleaning just isn't enough. LA would be wise to do the same on public transit stations and elevators. MERV 8 filters can't capture virus particulars, unfortunately. The EPA indicates a filter rating of MERV 13 or higher will filter out virus particles. This is also important for pollution and smoke as well. And several new recent studies show that particulate matter thrives in the subway. Dangerous particles that, when repeatedly exposed, are linked to long-term health issues. Clean air protects the most vulnerable, including disabled and immunocompromised. while also keeping everyone else healthy as well. So I hope you can work with Metro to improve air filters and air changes on Metro, which will help keep riders safe. Unrelated and separately, I'm hoping this commission will show their support for long COVID awareness by submitting an application to the city to light up City Hall teal on March 15th. The city official has to put this lighting request through special events, and it would go a long way in solidarity for Angelenos disabled by long COVID well before the games. I'll email the commission on how to do that process as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have no more public comment.
Thank you. Moving on to item 5, I wanted to do a time check that it is 3:30. We will continue on. Stephen, did you have comments before we get to item 5?
No, I was just again thanking the Metro team, and
Yes.
thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So
Okay. Item number 5, ad hoc committee updates. The current ad hoc committee commissioned bylaws and advocacy, disability culture and legacy, aviation and transportation network companies, TNCs, accessible infrastructure and communication, and housing equity will provide work plan updates and written recommendations, if any, which the commission may choose to act upon. The Accessible Infrastructure and Communication Committee will also submit the General Service Department Prevention Maintenance Budget Packet request letter for review and action. This item is for discussion and action. All right, we'll start off with any updates from the commission bylaws and advocacy.
Commissioner Kabamban? I think you have 4 attachments.
We did? Okay. I thank you. Commissioner Kabanban updating on the commission bylaws and advocacy committee. So we have looked at the bylaws and we actually set an appointment, right? To actually discuss and hopefully come to a final version in March 27th. Yeah, so there's our update. Thank you.
Oh, the disability inclusive language guideline.
I guess I'm on 2 today. So on the terminology version, we had submitted to the group. Commissioner Tagawa and I had looked at 2 resources. One provided by Commissioner Cable, and the other one is an online version that we found that is used with the which one is it? UN version. So during our subcommittee meeting, we had looked at the UN version as a more comprehensive and more widely probably a source. So we are submitting that in comparison to the version that was also provided by Commissioner Cable. So
And just so you know, it will be the red tab, Disability Inclusive Language Guidelines, the blue tab, Disability Language Doc, and the yellow tab, Standard Language Usage Doc.
we got 3 tabs. Thank you.
And GSD.
We also have the teal tab, which is the cover letter that we are hoping to submit with the version that the commission. I wasn't sure if we were going to put it up.
That's not yet fine.
Just a reminder, we put all 3 in so the commission could choose which one they would prefer.
Today, right? Yeah. So we have the red tab, the blue tab, and the yellow tab. And during this meeting, wanted your, and Commissioner Kabamban, would you be moving to, Commissioner Kabamban, will you be moving to ask the commission to approve the decision
UN
to go with the unit, or how did you want to proceed?
I think if the commissioners had taken a look at it, I know that we submitted them, should have enough time to look at it. I don't know did you guys not the letter, the version of the terminology, right? Or is that the one being worked on? Yeah, the terminology. Have so let me ask the commissioners, have you had a chance to look at those? That's what we're asking, right?
I don't think those should be finalized yet. I want to spend more time on them at least.
Okay.
Okay, so sorry, Commissioner Schlesinger, yes.
Sorry, just really quickly, this is so minor, but there was a period that needs to move over on the last big paragraph. Just a typo.
What page are you on?
It's, I don't know, there's no page.
Green tab?
What tab is that?
It's the letter we're talking about, the green
letter?
tab.
It's the green?
Oh, I see. Okay, after reality.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
If it's the letter.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
So I think when Commissioner Kabamban and I discussed the language, there were two things that came up. One was that if we created our own list, we probably need to vet it through legal, and that would take time. And during the previous meeting, there were a sense of urgency in getting something out. So we thought that, even as a placeholder, if there are members who want to come up with like a compiled list that would be our finalized version, that would it make sense to reference the pre-existing guidance links to the Commission and Department of Disability websites. So at least there's something out there that we can reference and refer journalists and others to. And that way the urgency component would be kind of addressed as the larger, formal guidance documents that we may want to create can take more time to do. So that was one of the things that was addressed during our meeting. Commissioner Kapaman?
Part of my recommendation to go with the UN version is, I know that Commissioner Cable, you made a presentation to us before that involved, the human rights stuff with the UN terminologies. So I thought that might be a better resource because we have that connection already that you had made a presentation to us in that version. Yeah.
Commissioner
This is
Cable?
Commissioner Cable. I understand the idea that we talked about the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which is the human rights document that the United Nations created with the support of people with disabilities. One of the things about the document, though, and their language is that they do not keep up on the current changes and evolution of language. So it might be very dated, and it would be good to be reviewed. The documents that I sent for review are the most current language. Just a suggestion.
And I think that's why we put together the two lists, because there were overlaps. So for the commissioners to take a look at that and come to a decision as a commission, if we want to adopt one or the other or some kind of a combination. Right? Okay.
What is the decision we should make today?
I think we just, if we make a motion to come to a date so that we can, when we make these recommendations, we should come to a date that we finalize something. So for me, when we get the packets, and I know that we're all very busy, I find myself not having the time as well to go through a lot of stuff, but we are given enough time, or are we being given enough time to actually go over the materials when we receive the packets and be able to read the materials? Because, when we come and vote for the minutes, we should have read the minutes already and just make that motion and not spending 2, 3, or 5 minutes to read the minutes. So maybe I would like to make a motion that by next commission meeting, we come to a decision of one or the other or a combination thereof.
So this is Commissioner Tagawa. The packets are being sent by Kayvon in advance for commissioner review. And it's the same amount of time that the general public has for review. So that's the minimum is being provided. I believe. And this time we submitted early because of the Monday holiday. So there was actually one extra day that everyone had to review. Commissioner Hopkins and then Executive Director.
Hi, this is Commissioner Hopkins. I just have a quick clarifying question. I think I may have missed exactly what the proposal is. Are we saying the proposal is that the yellow, blue, and red tabs would be attached? Or what is the proposed attachment to the letter?
So the I actually, this is Commissioner Tagawa. I thought there was a fourth tab with a website that Commissioner Cable provided that's not in this packet. But one, we wanted to share with the commissioners all of the resources we gathered. And then two, that through our meetings, we were recommending the red tab, which was the United Nations tab, but also wanted to offer the commissioners an opportunity to review all of the packets so that if you disagreed with us, that you would be able to give us guidance today. And that way we could decide to either move forward with the red tab or, take a step back and figure out a different step. And then second was to see if you had any general comments on the cover letter. And if you're okay with the general direction of the letter, that there's delegated authority for us to do any last minute edits and then send out once the attachment was confirmed. And Stephen, you had comments?
Yes, Steve Simon speaking. So it's sort of an add-on to President Tagawa's comment. So there are at least 3 documents to review. One is this cover letter, which is going to the mayor's office via Deputy Mayor Shockley, about using, about encouraging the mayor's office to encourage the rest of the city family to be using appropriate language. So definitely take a look at that letter, see if you find the tone and content right. So that's something that needs to be approved because it's your cover letter. 2, again, there are at least two versions here of disability inclusive language guidelines. We're making up that title to apply to both of them. And I actually thought there were supposed to be 3.
There are 3. There's
Okay,
the guidelines, the 11-pager, and the 2 documents that were provided by Commissioner Cable. They're on the back of.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sorry, Chef, my confusion. So there are 3 documents to be reviewed. And then once you review those, as I think pointed out by Commissioner Cable in this conversation, there's, you're looking at overall content, you're looking at what's updated or not. I mean, and then making a decision or recommendation that this body will make a decision about, are you trying to blend them? Are you trying to pick one of them? And then that decision essentially needs to be attached to this cover letter because your cover letter is going to say, follow this guidance. And this is our recommendation. So I do think you can do that at next meeting, but I think ideally it's kind of ready to go at next meeting and everyone's reviewed it. Everyone has their thoughts on it, their critique, if you will, the recommendation about what the best way forward is. And we can take that action. And then I will suggest actually a note very specific to what Commissioner Cable said. We need some process. I'd suggest we need some process of, I don't know, every 2 years. I'm just throwing it out there. Something that somebody's going to review and say, yeah, there's a tweak and a change or an addition. And we got to figure out how to make that happen. My suggestions, space, consistent. Yes, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Barrios?
I think the committee has spent some good time in preparing this letter. I think it's a general letter, and the attachments are there for specifics, which will be attached to the letter, right? When we send it. So I think for me, it's ready to go. You've already done your homework unless anyone, I mean, it's not a long letter. Okay. And we have the guidelines both for the UN and it's there as an attachment. I suggest that we move forward because then it will be the mayor's office who will look through this and maybe through legal and everything, and look at it in a deeper perspective. So, I mean, what else are we going to say? I mean, it just says these are the guidelines. So it's up now to our city, to look at the details and see what is legal, to follow and what's the impact on the city in usage of these guidelines. So, I mean, that's the way I feel, and I'm ready to make a motion. Unless
Well, there is a
somebody else
motion
has
on the
something
table,
else.
by the way.
Unless you're not ready, I don't know.
There is a motion, so either I withdraw it and we do it, or
move forward.
The motion is that by the next meeting, we get a finalized version. So we either vote on that or I can withdraw it. It's not a problem.
So you're still not, you yourself?
No,
is
there
not
is a
ready with
motion.
the
That's what
letter?
we need to
Yes,
decide right
there
now.
was a-
But I'm just saying, you yourself, since you prepared this letter, this draft.
Our recommendation was
Yeah.
for the UN, and then during the discussions that came up later, that we present both to the commission, and that's what we are doing today.
Commissioner Cable, do you have a comment?
This is Commissioner Cable. I don't understand why there's two disability inclusive language
Guidelines.
documents.
Yeah.
Documents.
Yeah,
There's one that's an Annex 1, disability inclusive language, and then there's a whole nother one that's
Yeah.
disability language. And if you feels like there should be one.
Yeah.
There were the two, I'm sorry, I can answer that. There were two that you sent that, well, President Tagawa asked to send so everyone could choose between the three. The disability language document, the standardized language usage, and the language guidelines.
Oh, there's a third one?
There's a third one. Yeah.
Oh.
And that's what they were at. It's
Oh.
behind the other page.
It's the
but
blue
it's-
tab.
Yeah, the tabs.
There's three.
Yes, the tabs.
Yeah.
So we're being asked to choose one of the three.
Or
that correct?
combined.
Yes.
It sounds like we have to do that before we can move forward,
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's the case. So we'll have to go through it.
right?
Choose.
You have to choose one of the three of the disability language documents you want to use before you can move forward to be able to submit the letter as well as the information from the UN.
Correct. So the original hope was that we could choose today and move forward. But if the commission needs time, the motion on the table right now by Commissioner Kabambam was to have the commissioners review this time and vote next time. But I do want to caution you that there was a sense of urgency during last month's meeting. So waiting another month, I'm a little bit, if everyone's okay and it's not urgent, I'm good. But I just wanted to throw that out there. Stephen, you wanted to mention something?
I'm going to convolute it.
This is a blank, right?
I was trying to kind of find the balance there. So from my position, not enough people have not enough people have looked at it to opine on it or prepared to opine on it right now. That seems to be what I'm standing from the room, right? And that commissioners want more time, another opportunity to look at the documents and be able to make a recommendation. And our recommendation is either I like document A to solve this problem, or B or C, or some combination thereof. I'm gonna say I hope we don't start going outside further and reinvent the wheel, because again, time-wise. So you got three, I think, good documents in front of you, and may have their strengths. So I guess what I'm coming back to from Commissioner
Barrios.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Is I suppose there could be an opportunity if the letter said this is the big, like 99% of the language in here, it just explains what the problem is. And if you took out the line about this is the exact item we're recommending, you could change that essentially to, and next month we plan on giving you recommended guidelines to go out there. If you felt to get the conversation started in the mayor's office or elsewhere, I suppose you could do that. Or you could wait the month and then actually send a cover letter with the recommended document. Trying to be helpful there to balance.
I think I'm looking through the three documents.
Commissioner
The
Barrios?
yeah, sorry to be acknowledged. The more detailed one is the first one. Okay?
Okay.
And the next two are more like bullet points,
Yes.
right? I mean, it looks like these are like bullet points or, to help explain the first packet.
Commissioner
Correct me if
Hopkins?
I'm wrong or.
Hi, it's Commissioner Hopkins here. Okay, so I have 3 minor changes to the letter. Minor. So on the second paragraph, second line, very little care or consideration is given rather than was. And, right before that, it seems very little care or consideration is given. So insert it seems before very little care or consideration and is given because that is an ongoing challenge. And then I would put the third paragraph in bold and maybe even bold caps because that's the entire purpose of the letter. And those are the 3 changes to the body of the letter. And then I think on the Ray line, we should add standardized phrasing referring to disabilities and persons with disabilities. That way the subject is clear on what we're doing or requesting. And then I caught up finally understanding what the situation is. And I would say if we want to get this out, we should go with the UN attachment because it's the most professional and
Yes.
comprehensive in explanation.
Yep.
So I'm ready to vote on that if anyone else is.
Yep.
All right, then I'm gonna have to withdraw my motion because that puts us into next month.
Okay.
So I withdraw my motion.
Did you want to?
So shall I make a
There you-
motion?
You can.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve this letter with the amendments proposed by Commissioner Hopkins and with the attachment of the main, the UN guidelines as the only attachment.
So motion by Commissioner Barrios, any seconds? Commissioner Hopkins, second. Third by Commissioner Acevedos. Any additional discussions? Yes, Commissioner Williams.
I think in terms of professionalism, the third document, I mean, it's written by Commissioner Cable, if I understand correctly. Is this your document?
Oh.
It's from your consulting firm. It's highly professional and highly appropriate. And thank you for it. I learned by reading it. If it were up to me, I'd send the whole thing. The UN lends international credence to it. The local documents are more contemporary. They focus on intersectionality. All of this would be ideal. I would, if I were in the mayor's office, I would appreciate receiving the whole packet. That's all.
Any other discussions? Commissioner Hopkins?
Thank you. If we are going to attach the 3, which I don't dispute, I think they should be enumerated in bullet points under the bold paragraph saying what is attached. And for point of clarity, my comment was in no way intending to suggest that Commissioner Cable's or the other documents are unprofessional. I just meant that this tells the story a little more comprehensively for someone who's just picking it up.
So should we make a amendment to the amendment?
Commissioner Barrios, please wait to be.
Oh,
I know it's getting long. Yes, Commissioner Schlesinger.
I find it a little confusing to have so many different attachments, like in much the way that I feel like our commission itself was a little bit discombobulated trying to figure that out.
Yes.
I guess I would advocate for picking whichever one we think is the clearest.
Okay. So the current motion is the letter with the UN attachment. So maybe we start there and see if everybody agrees or not agree. And if we're split, we get a new motion, or did you want, is that how we want to proceed? Is that?
What is your?
Oh,
You're still
Chris?
only in the first damn committee.
Okay, if it passes, it just passes. Okay,
Good God.
all right. Well, I guess we put it to vote with the UN attachment. Is that, Chris, your suggestion? Okay, put it to vote. Oh, okay,
If that's a vote, Kevin, just a roll call for a vote.
okay. I guess all in favor? You'll put it,
A roll call.
Yes.
Voting. Kiko Tagawa, how do you vote?
yes.
Mara Grace Barrios, how do you vote?
Yes.
Marina Kabamban,
Yes.
Candace Cable? Yes. Alyssa Schlesinger? Aaron Hopkins?
Yes.
George Acevedo?
That's a yes.
Commissioner Williams? Okay, that is yes from everyone unanimously.
Okay, so moved?
Oh, except Commissioner Patante because he is not here.
Yes.
Everyone else.
Okay. All right, that took 30 minutes. Yeah, yes, thank you, yay.
To win.
Can I, if I, Madam
Yes.
President, can I ask probably, Mr. City Attorney, does that assume that I would say probably the commission president has the opportunity, if there are any sort of typos or technical corrections to the letter, that can still happen, accepting the recommendations that were already stated? Is that presumed? Okay.
Okay. All right, next,
That
next.
concludes that
Yes.
concludes commission bylaws update. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies. Okay, our next is updates from disability culture and legacy.
We have no updates at this time we want to share.
Problem? Any updates from aviation and transportation network companies?
Oh,
Aviation.
no updates at this time. Oh, we had isn't Metro under it?
No, the GSD support letter?
Is
that-
transportation, is it Metro? The Metro presentation, isn't that under the Transportation Committee?
I would have to double check that, but I think
Yes,
so.
I think so.
Okay.
So that's the update.
Okay.
Commissioner Hopkins?
I have a question regarding Metro since we brought it up. I have not yet had a chance to peruse the Metro annual review, but I'm wondering if they include listings for how many elevators were out of service and what the average turnaround time was. And I think we should, and regardless, I think we should ask
List.
or go through to see what kind of customer service references are included here, because I feel like that is a huge one that's overlooked and that we do need to bring more attention to it.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
So the committee could ask.
Like, how are they
yeah.
collecting these information? Is there a survey that people fill out or something like?
Yeah. So Commissioner Barrios, you can
we-
take that back to your ad hoc
yeah,
committee.
to our ad hoc committee to submit a list.
Yeah.
Of like a timeline as well. What are the non-working elevators and what's their timeline to have it fixed or
Yep.
usable?
Okay. Next.
Accessible infrastructure and communication.
I think we have an update on that, right?
Yes.
Wasn't that what
The
we
letter.
discussed?
The letter.
The letter. Yeah,
GSD letter?
yeah,
The GSD.
That's the green tab.
yeah.
The last one will be Housing Equity Committee. Any updates?
Oh, wait, no. Commissioner Barrios, you're gonna
Oh, she wants
put a motion out.
Or
To
to
get the-
approve this
yes.
letter. But So also the update of transportation is the Metro presentation.
Yeah.
Please include that we finally gotten it. Okay. Right. And then, yeah, so we drafted a letter in support. It's your green tab for the General Services Department concerning things that should be in the list of GSD for people for the disability upgrades in the city hall as well as in the annex, right? So this is the letter that we worked on. So if you guys can just read through it, and so that we can have a motion.
I think
Yeah.
you should make the motion.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve this letter of support to the General Services Department.
That was Commissioner Barrios. Any seconds? Commissioner Cable? Any discussions? Any comments?
Again, with a presumption that's Stephen Simon speaking with technical corrections or edits as needed, like the floating period that's still hanging out
Yeah.
here.
Kevon, can you take roll for the?
For the voting?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to take roll to see how you would like to vote. Akiko Tagawa,
Yes.
Mary Grace Barrios,
Yes.
Myrna Kabanban, Candace Cable,
Yes.
Alyssa Schlesinger, Iron Hopkins,
Yes.
George Acevedo, Robert Williams. Thank you.
And Commissioner Batante is not available. Yes.
Not a
Okay. Yes, Stephen.
Very, very quick comment. I want to thank this commission. This is a process we don't use terribly often. I think I'm going to encourage us to use it more often where we can support other departments' budgets that really impact our communities and disability and accessibility. So thank you very much on this. We'll probably be bringing more of this type of request to you for the next budget season, but we're working on that. So thank you again.
Thank you, Stephen. And housing and equity, there's no updates. Okay. I guess we go to, oh, yes, Commissioner Hopkins.
Hi, I have a question regarding, it's an ongoing thought and conversation that I'm having with someone else, but one of the it's related to housing and homelessness. I would love it if we could get some rough percentages of what the total city budget is compared to how much is being spent on homelessness. Because there's a lot of noise out in the community with some tidbits that were released into the airwaves where a lot of people are, it's misinformation and improper, it's not accurate and there's no accuracy attempted. It's just like, oh, so I'd love to get a sense of whether or not that's like 5%, 10%, 20, 50, 40, 60, whatever it is, right? Like I know it's a lot smaller than the people who are choosing to exclaim this way are actually aware of. So it would be really helpful, I think, if we could get some sort of, general comparison.
Thank you. I completely agree. And so we have requests out for presentations by LASA and others to provide us with those numbers. They're being scheduled. I don't think it's confirmed just yet, but
Confirmed just yet, really
it's-
close.
Yes, yes. So that's in the works for presentation, and that'll probably set the direction of the ad hoc committee because we don't have the data. It's hard to make recommendations, and so I'm very much looking forward to the presentation occurring during this cycle. Yeah. Stephen, Chris.
Chris Lee from City Attorney's Office. Was the request about the percentage of the money that's being spent or the hard numbers that have that's being spent by LASA? Because I think a lot of people do not realize that LASA is a separate entity on its own. So if you're trying to figure out the percentage of the money, percentage of the city budget that is being allocated for the homeless services, I think you might want to actually make an inquiry to the CAO's office, who handles the budget issues, who may have more accurate information in terms of percentage wise.
Is that different from, this is Commissioner Tagawa, is that different from LA Housing?
Yeah.
That's different from LA Housing.
Right, city administrative office
Okay.
is probably a good source to tap into. Can
I have a question.
This is Commissioner Hopkins here. That's exactly the kind of clarity that I would love to get some talking points on, because, like, just to set some facts to direct people to, because
Yes.
I didn't even realize that nuance.
Point of information.
Stephen?
Point of information briefly. So adding on to Chris's comment. So yes, my suggestion would be to a loss of discussion is a whole different ball game of information. So city CAO and LA Housing Department, Housing Department may have some clean numbers too, but those two are your sources around the city budget and the city dollars that are going into it. And I would suggest this commission focus in that space.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Yes.
Commissioner Barrios, isn't Inside Safe?
That's part of the request already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Inside Safe is where the dollars, and I don't know I think we need to be educated, how they get their budget and the numbers, because they're really tasked to do that, to address homelessness. And are we able to get any numbers from the controller? He has nothing to do with any of this. It has to be what you were saying, CAO?
Yes. Fine with me if the controller could be a third source.
Does he get the numbers too? Does he get the numbers too?
They might have numbers.
You don't know?
I couldn't tell you definitively, but that could be another source.
Could you find out for us?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
reach out and find out if he has also.
We should continue it through the ad hoc committee process. It's just make the same exact ask.
Is that
Housing and
house equities are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right, time check at 4:04. And we still have 2 items to go.
Direct.
Do we have public comments? Okay,
Yes, we have virtual public comments.
we have public comment?
Yes.
Okay.
Caller, you may begin.
I have a comment regarding language. May I speak to that at this time?
Yes.
Okay, yes. I understand that language is very important, and I'm not reinventing the wheel, but there is a wheel manufacturer, the IOC, International Olympic Committee, in which LA 28 may have already been provided guidance in terms of the appropriate language. Considering IOC deals with this on a every 2-year basis, has any inquiry been made to them what language they use? Is LA 28 using that language? Because considering the amount of power LA 28 is wielding, we will be speaking LA 28 in 2028. So to see if our language corresponds with theirs, it'll start off on a good point rather than having all this different language. Well, I learned it this way. Well, this. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. All right, we have no more public comment.
Okay, let's move on to item 6.
Item number 6, Executive Director's Report. The Department on Disability, Executive Director Stephen David Simon, sorry. And or other department staff will provide an update on items relating to department activities, metrics, budget, planning, and or other relevant issues. This item is for discussion.
Thank you, Stephen Simon speaking. I'll start with a thank you to our interpreters and captioners for bearing with us as we go a little over time. I will try to be quick without being illegible. First, emergency response and recovery. Bottom line, the emergency the EOC, sorry, is at a level 3 now, Emergency Operations Center. So it's EMD staff only. The department is no longer staffing a person in the space, but they work directly with our emergency management coordinator who can be reached on a daily basis. We continue to staff with our partners at the Department of Aging, the Disaster Recovery Center that may remain open into next month. The Westwood Recreation Center demobilized today, supposed to have happened at 1 p.m. And that was essentially the last regular shelter set up in city space. My nutshell on this is I'm not doing a formal report on disaster recovery here. We have reached out to community and gotten some input about concerns from community organizations in particular. We did that in the second or third week of the fire incidents. And my recommendation or offer to the commission is that we do have our emergency management coordinator come and present to you when the after action report is done, or at least well in progress. EMC leads that process. They get input from all city departments and some external sources, and we'd love to do a formal report back to this commission on it in case we have additional input in that process. So I'd rather have it, this is a rare case, I'll say, I'd rather have it done and then we can still report into it because that addendum could be added. So we'll talk more about that in the coming month or two. We do think there are some changes around truly following actual city policy in many spaces, making sure people are properly trained on city policy around accessibility in emergency trainings, emergency situations. So there's some work to be done, but big kudos to a lot of the first responders and a lot of departments who did work very hard to do their best to ensure accessibility. We look forward to partnering with them moving forward. That was actually quick for me. I will go to the commission asked me to the department to respond on the public comments that came around planters over in the Hollywood area. My quick synopsis of that is one, to thank the community for bringing it to our attention. We weren't aware of that circumstance. This department reached out to the ADA coordinator for pedestrian rights of way, who's the sidewalk division of the Bureau of Engineering in the Department of Public Works. The coordinator went out and did a site visit. They, from a preliminary report back to us, they believe there was sufficient clearance under the ADA, generally a 48-inch clearance, that sort of a Title II complaint might not be the tactic to remove these barriers if they are creating barriers for people with disabilities, which they appear to be doing. But the spacing of them is likely in violation of the city's own policy regarding the Los Angeles sidewalk encroachment policy. It was something that was adopted by the Board of Public Works back in 2019. And that requires that fixed objects like planters have a pedestrian access route of 60 inches or greater, which is higher than the ADA's 48 inches. The public commenters pointed out that they had not been getting sufficient responses, if any responses at all, from city departments. We are, glad to say there actually was some work being done on this space prior to it coming to this commission, and that the Bureau of Street Services Enforcement Division has been citing the entity, I can't remember what term we're using there. They've cited them multiple times. I don't have an exact number in front of me. They've gotten no compliance response from them. They're looking at a March or April, and don't hold me to the timeline, but a March or April date for an administrative citation hearing. So the city is moving forward to try and address this issue because it appears to be in violation of city policy. The matter has also been referred to the city attorney's office for adjudication. So there is something moving forward. I will try and keep us updated in that space. Two more quick points. One is, even if someone has the 48-inch minimum access along the sidewalk, there is no place. There doesn't appear to be. I've driven by, so I haven't done sort of a personal inspection. But from what I can tell, and my understanding of this report, while there may be space for someone, for example, utilizing a wheelchair to get by in the 48 inches, there are no clear opportunities for an accessible vehicle, for example, to drop somebody off or pick somebody up, or for someone to really just have access from between the street and the sidewalk itself. So there are a lot of concerns about that. And we will continue to get information from Public Works as that evolves. So again, thank the public for bringing it to our attention. We do hope there's going to be some action in that space. Okay, I'm moving. Briefly, I do want to point out that Ali Everett, our AGM, and Matan Koch, our director, well, our city ADA compliance officer, are serving on the Park Needs Assessment Technical Advisory Committee. This is an opportunity to help inform recreation and parks about accessibility to better meet the needs of all Angelenos with a sort of a long-term vision in place. So to really look at the policies, procedures, and plans for how Rec and Parks moves forward, making sure spaces are accessible. More to follow on that. That's all I'll say for today, but we're glad to be a part of that. Oh, actually, commissioners, you should have received actually an email on that. We can possibly ask Kevon to resend as needed, but you are invited to participate in those discussions. There are public hearings on the matter, and your input is very well invited. My budget update, it's a brief one because our hearing is Monday. So we will present, my executive team and myself will present in front of the mayor's budget team and the CAO's budget team. They will sometime this evening or tomorrow essentially give us a draft blue book, which is the sort of intended or expected or recommended budget for this department based on our asks and the city's financial circumstance. So I don't have an update until we see that, and then we get in front of that committee, if you will, and make our presentation. A couple of quick highlights there. I will point out we do have two requests that are games specific that are really part of our budget. So that's essentially new funding that one expands some of the regular services we provide, including our contracts for example, accessible communications, expanding that on the scale that we need for the games, as well as some business-based programs. So we'll talk about those in more details. We have an idea if they're recommended for funding or not. I do want to also stress there is a recommendation in from another department, Bureau of Engineering, to really have a point person, full-time staffer in the mayor's. I get my title wrong. Help me with my title. The mayor's office of major events that was more recently created for the games. Former council president Krikorian is the head of that office, and we do want a full-time, minimally one person full-time, and we're supporting that recommendation by Bureau of Engineering. And okay, and last note, we almost, I'm looking at Commissioner Barrios, have that clean and detailed list of DoD events for y'all that include events really looking forward well into the rest of this fiscal year and beginning of next, including events we are planning on participating in and events we are planning on not participating in because we don't have the staffing or funding for that. It is not quite ready for prime time, but I will highlight on it just again the key things coming up. Again, Abilities Expo. We are hoping any and all of you can join us. I know a couple people are signed up to be participating in our booth. It is the 7th through the 9th of March, 10:30 a.m. to 5. Except for the Friday, I think. So we'll check that time. We're also supporting the Youth Weekend for Angel City Sports on the 29th. April 12th, we are participating in the City STEM and LA Maker Fair with the host is the Public Library, and it's at Exposition Park. And the NAMI Walks Greater LA Fest on May 10th. So we will get you a multi-month list. It's almost there. You'll definitely have it for next meeting. And we look forward to having your participation in as many of those events as possible. Thank you. That concludes the Executive Director's report.
Opt-in this time.
What did I mess up?
The opt-in, are we talking?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. And there is a suggestion from the department that this commission the suggestion is that this commission move forward as a public hearing in the next month or two for your public hearing that you do annually anyway, just to pick a topic for a public hearing. There's been a lot of discussion because of the fires and the floods, subsequent floods, about being able to have a registry of people with disabilities regarding emergency response and activation. I will tell you from my office, historically, there are people in the community who love that and want to see it happen, and there are people in the community that don't for legitimate reasons on both sides. I will say the County of Los Angeles looks like they're moving forward very quickly in the direction of having such a program. And I just suggest that this commission has the opportunity to be a pivotal voice in that conversation, wherever it may end up. So I do actually suggest for your next meeting, committing most of the time in that meeting to a public hearing. It just will probably be a lot of just public comment that gets recorded. That is important and official, if you will, that advises the city on how we move forward in that conversation internally and or with the county. So the department will certainly assist on reaching out to community and really, getting people in the room and online en masse to have that conversation and give us good input and sort of synopsize pros and cons. So that could be an action that this commission decides or recommends today as you do your agenda setting for next meeting. That concludes the report.
Thank you. Item number 7. There's public, I'm sorry. We have
Public
virtual
comments.
Public comment.
Yes. Oh, Commissioner Hopkins?
Commissioner Hopkins here. Executive Director Simon, I want to make sure I'm understanding correctly your statement. Are you suggesting that we propose at this meeting or next meeting that we should do this public hearing?
The suggested is that it's within the next 2 meetings, but preferably from city staffing perspective that it is 2 meetings away. So we really have time to do the kind of outreach we need to get people
May?
in the room. Yes.
Or-
Is that okay?
So the meeting would be in May.
The hearing, yes.
Well, I'll propose that for new business when we get there.
Thank you. Are you okay with transportation? Do you need to go? You're okay? Okay. Okay. All right, public comments.
Got a couple public comments. We have public, I'm sorry, in attendance and virtual. Okay, sorry. Okay, thank you so much. Caller, you may begin.
Hello, thank you. And I know you guys want to leave, so I'll be really quick. The director or the president of the commission here, could you please put a tickle into the Public Works ear that just like the planters that were over on Sunset, that they could just go and remove them and then use that as a credit to the Willits decision, because I know you have a lot of money you need to spend for that, and that would be a couple of $1,000s off from that credit. So thank you for the time and thank you for that update. We really appreciate it. I yield back my time.
Thank you.
I am very grateful for that update and I appreciate it very much. But I just want to remind you that it is, an ADA compliance issue, but also the intent behind these planners is to prevent the free speech of, people who may have problems with what's going on there. And so it's a deliberate attempt to prevent First Amendment free speech of protest, redress of the public, and especially from the survivors that have left there and who want to be heard. So it really behooves the city to really resolve this because there's 2 classes of people who are being affected. People, this has really gained attention from around the world. People around the world are literally, coming to this meeting, which is, it sounds crazy, but it's true. They're very interested. And I'm going to say you guys are everyone's favorite because you listen and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. There are no more public comment.
Okay, thank you. Item 7, new business.
Sorry about that.
I'm leaving the meeting. I'm leaving the vocals, so we'll just watch Audit run around here. I thought I saw a bike guy with her. Very good. Thank you, guys. I know this ended up being a very long meeting, but very well received. Good information. I love the fact that they listen and that we actually have time. Fragglebot, did you still have something that you wanted to say? If you're still here, I'm not too sure if you're still here, but I did say that you could discuss. Did you have a question about today? And I'll give you a minute or two here to respond just in case. But yep, you guys need to send, oh, yep, Bike Guy is there. Need to send Audit some much love because she ended up getting there. And very positive output, yes. Well, thanks for being here, Kathy. And as I wrote in there, yes, the city has 60-inch sidewalk measurements rather than the 48. And he's talking about the width of the sidewalk where you walk, not the easement. And on the easement, in between the planters for the egress, ingress for to get through there, that's not in violation. That's not in code. That is violation. So I think he drove by and he thought that's what he was thinking of. But they're not. So anyways, if you guys listen over to Audit, I think she has a project she wants to ask everybody about and consider. And for that, I think it's 7:30 here. I'm going to go have some supper before I have to get my butt into bed and have the energy to be able to do that. So with that, thank you so much, you guys. I still haven't heard from Fragglebot, so I'll assume maybe they can leave a comment if they still have a question or wanted to talk about things. So thank you. I will see you guys in the morning for our Good Morning Sunshines.